Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got to talk about the State of the Union, where the Congressional Black Caucus has asked families of victims of police brutality to join the CBC and Congress to hear the president tonight. This is the sign that there's going to be some new conversation about police reform. We talked to retired Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey of the LAPD to give us her take on that, as well as the latest developments out of Memphis, where 7 other officers have been disciplined in their involvement in the Tyre Nichols case. We'll be talking to the sergeant about policing in America. Also, we're going to check in with Jay Wells, who is an actor, who's a stuntman, to talk about his work on Wakanda Forever. And then later we talk to the man Devo, who is opening something very special. He launched his all-black food network. We get to get the exclusive on that. So stay with us, all of that and more on today's edition of The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, let's jump right in. It is a big night in Washington, D.C., as President Joe Biden is expected to give his second State of the Union address. This time, this is in front of a House of a Congress where we're seeing a majority of Republicans in the House and a majority of Democrats in the Senate. And is also during a period where there is new discussion and more upheaval around the case of policing. Now, the Congressional Black Caucus, that group of political leaders from Black leaders from around the country, has decided to go and ask families of victims of police brutality to join the CBC congressional leaders and to hear the president tonight. Now, we want to just talk a little bit more about this, considering the latest around Tyre Nichols case, where those more officers were disciplined. 7 new officers were asked to step down, to step away from their duties. They haven't been officially fired or terminated, but they have been just put on some level of suspension as a result of their involvement. And it opens the conversation up even more about policing in America. Folks, I'm very, very excited to be checking in with a woman who knows policing all too well. She's dedicated 20 years of her life in the patrol unit of the Los Angeles Police Department, serving in 4 major bureaus, for all 4 bureaus of the LAPD. She's also is now retired, and so we're happy to have her expertise. Retired Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey joins me today. Madam Sergeant, how are you today? Good afternoon.
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on the program. First and foremost, let's talk a little bit about this latest this situation out of D.C. with this invite of families that the Congressional Black Caucus has asked the families of police brutality victims to come and to see the president. I don't know if this is a performative gesture, Sergeant. I don't know if it's just political theater, but what do you make of the invitation? Is this a sign that we, especially Black folks in this country, we should be hopeful of, that the president may say some things to speak to the need for police reform?
Listen, it's a great optic. It's both of those things you said. We've been at this now for, I don't know, since 2014 for sure, when there was a spate of deadly police shootings, uses of force, chokeholds, taser events, you name it, starting with Eric Garner and Mike Brown, and here in Los Angeles, Ezell Ford, Tamir Rice later in 2014, John Crawford, and then everything that's happened since 2014. And so what has changed? Really nothing. We get a lot of lip service. They put on a dog and pony show. They create these faux bills that aren't going to get passed, the George Floyd Justice and Reform Act, as if it would really make a difference somehow. And so they're very disingenuous and being intellectually dishonest.
So I'm glad that you brought that up, Sergeant, because when we were playing, we played the Tyree Nichols funeral here on the show and on the network here, Black Star Network, and it kept coming up. The George Floyd Justice for Policing Act, George Floyd Justice for Policing Act. We need to pass this bill in order for us to see real policing. But and I'm not sure how much you know of the bill, but is that the direction that we need to go, or should there be a whole different conversation about police reform in this country?
It should be a completely different conversation. And while, I don't want to say no to anything, pass it if you want to, but understand this, the people that keep tooting that horn know very well it would do absolutely nothing. They have convinced this family and those who preceded them that somehow this would make a difference. Listen, it's been 2 years since we saw Derek Chauvin sit on the neck of George Floyd. What's changed? Nothing. And so here's the problem with the George Floyd Reform Act that I have. I think it does a disservice to the man's legacy. First of all, everything that the president is talking about is on a federal, national level. And while, again, I don't say no to anything, but understand ending no-knock warrants, which is a big deal in this George Floyd Reform Act, would stop federal agents from serving no-knock warrants. Well, when no-knock warrants are generally served and by whom? They're served by narcotics officers on the local level, police department. You don't see federal agents running around serving no-knock warrants. So you're going to ban something that basically doesn't exist. You're going to prohibit chokeholds. Well, most departments already prohibited chokeholds, and we saw that in the case of Daniel Pantaleo when he choked Eric Garner to death. And what did the commissioner at that time tell us? Oh, that wasn't a chokehold that you saw. That was an upper body seatbelt restraint hold. I guess that's
what they call it.
That's what the commissioner.
That's what an upper body seatbelt restraint hold.
Right. Anything but a chokehold. So yeah, so we're good there. Listen, and so these are the kind of shenanigans and games that are played with these families, and this is why I speak the way that I do, because I know what I know, and I understand when you get a savvy police chief or a politician in front of a bank of cameras and they start spewing nonsense that most people don't understand. Now these folks have convinced the Wells family, I think that's Tyree Nichols' mother's name, but they've convinced this family that they're going to pass a bill over there in Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, in the name of Tyree Nichols, and it's going to be called something like the duty to intervene, duty to care, duty to provide care, something like that. But here's the deal. The people who are talking about that also know that that's nonsense. We always have had a duty to intervene as police officers. When you see your partner committing police misconduct, and police misconduct is described as an unnecessary use of force. When you see your partner engage in that, you're there and you don't do anything to stop it. Now you have committed police misconduct. We have absolutely always had a duty to stop our partner from beating up somebody when they're handcuffed. And so here we go again with some foolishness by the usual suspects, is what I like to call them. And it's going to do absolutely nothing to change anything.
Wow. So what are we fighting for at this point? What do we need to fight for, Sergeant? Because at this point, if the George Floyd Justice for Policing Act is not going to be sufficient, if the Tyree Nichols clause to that act, which you're talking about, is not going to be enough, what do we need to fight for? What's the ultimate goal that we should be fighting for here?
Certainly an end to qualified immunity, and I know that the Republicans are dead set against it. We've heard from Tim Scott, our skin folk. You understand what I'm saying, right?
Right.
He's not kinfolk.
Right.
He already said.
It just happens to be.
Any discussion about ending qualified immunity that was trying to be part of the George Floyd Reform Act is a non-starter. But certainly people need to really not just complain and fuss about it, really need to hold these elected officials, because they understand one thing, and that's votes. Hold these elected officials accountable for ending qualified immunity. But in the meantime, there's absolutely something that can be done on a local level. I think all politics are local, and folks need to be paying attention to city and state elected officials and legislation. Here in California, we have a senator by the name of Bradford who passed Senate Bill number 2, and our governor, Gavin Newsom, signed it, and it's called the Police Deactivation Act. And what the Police Deactivation Act of 2021 does, and I'll just try to read real quick for you what it will do, but basically it prohibits a person, a police officer, who's been convicted of a felony as specified from, and there's some, specifics about which felonies and which crimes you've been convicted of or found guilty of administratively. But it prevents you from regaining eligibility for peace officer employment. In other words, much like needing a license to drive a car. You can't drive a car legally if you don't have a license. Here in California, if you don't have post-certification, peace officers standard and training, if you don't have that certification, if you're decertified, when you get fired for committing misconduct or charged with some kind of crime, because listen, here we've got about, 800 police officers, it's reported, who've been convicted of crimes, who are still police officers somewhere in the state of California. So with this new act, you cannot become a peace officer anywhere else. You can't do what Betty Shelby did when she shot Terrence Crutcher in the back when he was walking away from her with his hands in the air after having a disabled vehicle on a highway. She shoots him in the back, she resigns, and then she goes right next door to the sheriff's department and she applies and they hire her. Timothy Loman, the officer who shot and killed Tamir Rice. Once they got him off of that department in Cleveland, he went next door, got hired, and people found out and protest, and then he pulled his employment application, but he's been steadily applying. He may be on a department by now. So decertifying a police officer is doable, and it's something everybody should be demanding of their local legislators right now.
Decertifying police officers. That's the goal. That's the goal. So the national conversation, it sounds like Sergeant Dorsey, like the national conversation is really not it's really just a very like a Band-Aid approach to which is the larger problems. It seems like a lot of these problems, and I'm from Baltimore and travel, I live in Los Angeles now. One of the big things in the state of Maryland is the state of Maryland has the final say, you know what I mean, in terms of money for the department, setting the rules and the regulations for the department, all of those things. That is a state situation. And so it sounds like we're still kind of like running in circles here. We're still on that treadmill because we're like, oh, we want to do something. And it's like maybe the president just keeps missing the mark. And I'm not understanding why that's happening. Sergeant, I'm not understanding. Like, this is not new. Police brutality in the Black community has been happening for years. It's gotten more play because of cell phone and video and all of those things, but it's been happening for years. So how come this country can't get it right?
Well, I think basically the system does what it's designed to do. I mean, let's be real. I mean, law enforcement is predicated upon white supremacy. And, I understand that young folks, are all about the FTP and all of that. But, I believe that some of the change that we want is going to come from the inside. And if infiltrate is a word that works for you, young people, then infiltrate these police departments, because we know from reports by the FBI that white folks and Klansmen and neo-Nazis are infiltrating. They're joining these police departments and they're on them all over these 18,000 agencies that exist. And so while, I don't want to beat up, the president and his VP too much, but they understand exactly what's going on. And they understand that police chiefs have tremendous autonomy. Every police chief serves at the pleasure of an elected mayor or a city manager or city council members. These folks understand votes. Sheriffs are elected officials. They understand votes. And while young folks say my vote doesn't matter, if it didn't matter, they wouldn't be trying to keep you from voting. And so when you understand and recognize that a police chief, even with an independent civilian review board, and I'm all for those as well, if they have some teeth behind what it is they're doing. Most of them just make recommendations. And then the police chief will say, okay, I appreciate that recommendation, but I'm gonna go over here and do this thing that I was already thinking about doing. So when you know that the police chief ultimately decides, like we're seeing right now in Memphis, Chief C.J. Davis, you see how quickly she was able to discipline those officers, finish up her administrative investigation, fire some, not others, send them home with pay, relieved of duty. But we see just how much control they have. And unless you put pressure on your mayor, who's an elected official, to deal appropriately, to hold that police chief accountable, and thus have the police chief hold their officers accountable, we will continue to relive this. There is going to be another Tyree Nichols, sadly. And, you know, I said this the other day, and we actually had one here in California, Huntington Park, California, where officers from that police department shot a black man who was a double amputee, who was trying to run away on his stubs. I mean, so every day, a black person is being shot, beat, tased, dies in custody every day.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we'll continue our conversation with retired Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey. I want to hear from you. Post your comments in the chat section as we're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and of course, Black Star Network. And stay with us. We got a lot to talk about as we continue the conversation about police reform, politics, and so much more. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shots.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We have been talking to retired Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey from the LAPD, talking about police reform in America. The latest news has been that the Congressional Black Caucus has invited families of police brutality victims to join the CBC and the president for tonight's State of the Union. To take a look at this here, folks. And our very esteemed guest, Sergeant Dorsey, she has made the point to say it's performative political theater. It won't lead to anything. And folks, can I keep it 100? I want to bring Sergeant Dorsey back into the frame here. Sergeant, I think I would have to agree with you. And it's so sad. And here's my frustration, Sergeant Dorsey, that, you know, again, it's not about beating up on the president, but I think it's about holding people accountable, right? President Biden has been in public service for 50 years. Kamala Harris is a prosecutor from the state of California. And here's the part that gets to me, Sergeant Dorsey, is the fact that we have put so much emphasis on policy, right? I was listening to another conversation yesterday, and it was brought up that Dr. King talked about moral, like a lot of Dr. King's work was about moral reform, that the country needed to get to a better moral space outside of the economics and political space. And his work, his life, his mission was about moral reform. But the one thing that he said was, you can't legislate morality, right? And that stuck with me, that resonated with me, Sergeant. And it got to the point where it's like, now we're not even talking about good policy. We're not even talking about quote unquote leadership. We're just simply talking about making the moral decision of between what's right and what's wrong. And it's a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face. So I'm almost, I mean, I have very thin like patience and tolerance for a lot of performative political theater. I'm looking at the point, me coming out of a community organizer, community activist space, what do we do with that? You talked about decertifying the officers. I want us to look at how do we take the power out of the hands of waiting on political officials and putting it back into the hands of the communities that are impacted the most. Because as you know, like I know, the old saying goes, those who are closest to the problem are also closest to the solution. So we are the solution to our own problem, but we just don't know how to tap into that. Talk to me a little bit more about that, then we can get some comment.
And part of it is why I speak the way that I do about police policies and procedures and culture and how they think, because I lived it and I know it. And, you know, just like you found me, and thank God for you. I appreciate you having me on air. This is my first time being on with you, but
yes,
just like you found out about me, I've been speaking like this since 2014 on national news. I'm on news networks in the UK. So it's not like they don't know I'm here, right? Because I get calls all the time from people and I ask, you know, how did you find me? And they'll say, well, I saw you on CNN. I mean, they wore me out last week on CNN. I had 5 hits almost every day last week with the Tyre Nichols case. So I say that to say the CBC, I'm not hiding from them. I went 1 year down there to their national convention that they had in an attempt to try to connect with some folks, myself and some colleagues of mine. I'm not the only one who looks like me, who speaks the way that I do. I belong to a coalition of Black law enforcement officers, the National Coalition of Law Enforcement Officers for Justice, Reform, and Accountability. And we are available and accessible if the CBC really wants to make real substantive change. Instead of them flying the families, and you know, it's a nice gesture to DC. How about you fly Sergeant Dorsey and some of her colleagues to DC and have us come and sit down at a round table and talk to you for real about what would make a difference. And so when they don't do that, when the VP isn't reaching out to me, and listen, I tag them when I'm on Twitter, I'm posting up my YouTube videos when I'm talking the way that I'm talking right now, and I tag the vice president, the president, their handlers, and ain't nobody reaching out for me. So one has to believe that they're really not interested in change. And so that's why I advocate and talk to regular folks like you who have people who really want to make a difference. And hopefully I will say something that will resonate, that you can take with you when you have an opportunity to either demand a town hall meeting, go to a town hall meeting, call for an audience with your police chief, with your mayor and your city council members, and ask them these things that I'm saying to you today. Ask them about accountability and why can't every police chief adjudicate an administrative investigation the same way CJ Davis did over in Memphis. Now, understand, she gets no brownie points from me. She's trying to cover her ass. She understands that she's created a monster in this Scorpion unit, that she put them out there unsupervised, that she knows these officers have between 2 and 5 years on the job. We don't need a national registry, a list of officers who've been misbehaving. The police chiefs know who's been misbehaving. And so, again, back to the George Floyd Reform Act, creating a national registry is a joke. Derek Chauvin had over 20 plus personnel complaints. Do you think he wasn't on a list in Minneapolis? CJ Davis in Memphis had disciplined 3 of the 5 officers that she fired immediately. Do you think CJ Davis didn't have a list? Come on now.
Wow. Let me get a couple comments from my online culture crew here, Sergeant. Vic Abrams checked in. Sounds good because Shreveport and Bossier, Louisiana officers get kicked off of one force driving across a bridge and find a new place. You talked about that. There's no real accountability. There are no real consequences when officers get fired from one department. They can just go to another. Absolutely. Janelle, you said we need federal legislation with teeth, national database of bad apples, federal certification requirements, along with local course, consent decree type of relationships based on stats. What's your take on that, Sergeant?
I believe that consent decrees are helpful, but, once it's over, then it's over. The police departments will behave as long as they know somebody is looking. Again, back to the national registry, a national database. That does not compel a police chief locally to do anything unless perhaps monies from the federal government are withheld, unless you meet certain benchmarks. Listen, there's some things that are doable right now. We have 18,000 police departments across the United States, police departments and sheriff's departments. All of these units, all of these agencies have units, special task force, and they have a place. I don't say they shouldn't exist. Certainly, we need officers out there being proactive, because there are some bad doers out there, but it's got to be the right officer. And so since we know that these special task force exists, like Scorpion, like a unit that I was on in LAPD, Crash, it's imperative that you have supervisors out there monitoring these young officers. When I was a supervisor, I was always in the field every day because it was my job to be out there. And if I hear, because I know what kind of calls could be problematic, if I hear my officers go code 6, which means they're at scene on a call, my job is to get over there and see what the hell's going on. Or at the very least, just let my officers know that I'm showing up. They don't know when I'm showing up or where I'm showing up. And if I see my officers engage in a use of force in my presence, then my job now is to manage that use of force, to make sure that officers are acting proportionate and reasonable in their use of force. CJ Davis put those officers out there without supervisors by her own admission. So I think right now we need to have an independent auditor for every police department, every sheriff's department that runs specialized task force units like the Scorpions, like Crash, like.
But here's your question though, Sergeant. Can the people request that? I'm saying the people, like the constituents, does that have to come from a political space, or can that just come up from organized citizens?
If enough people start raising hell, all the marching and stomping around that everybody does every time there's a death, if they stomp down to City Hall and say, we want an independent auditor, we want somebody to look at these units and find out if you got officers on there who've been previously disciplined for unnecessary use of force. We know that people in Memphis were complaining about Scorpions. And guess what? Nobody on that department investigated those complaints. Perhaps if CJ Davis had done her job before, these officers, the 5 that we know of and the others that we don't, may not have been running around, jumping out of the car, pulling people out and beating their ass because they would no longer be on that department. But because she didn't do her job and we had to wait until a young man lost his life, now all of a sudden she wants to get an accolade for doing what she should have been doing all along. So yes, the community can complain and demand it. But if you don't know to ask for it, then a closed mouth don't get fed.
Wow, there it is. Sergeant, we got a couple of moments left. And, as we look at this latest developments in Memphis where these 7 officers, they're facing discipline, and they were received an internal quote unquote statement of charges, which is a document notifying them of policy violations, which is then followed by a hearing and a written decision. This is all internal action. It's not a criminal action. So what does this mean for those 7 officers in Memphis? How come, 1, we don't know who these officers are? And then 2, why are they taking this course of action versus another course of action where it might lead to criminal charges?
Well, this is what happens administratively. Every time an officer is accused of misconduct, they have a right to due process. And so there is an internal investigation by internal affairs. Someone looks at the charges, they go out and they interview people, and they find out whether or not this person actually violated department policy. And I'll tell you the other problem that this police chief, her department, and the district attorney have over there in Memphis. I've been talking about it, and nobody's saying this but me, but I'll say it again here. Part of the policy violation is that these officers presumably have given what we call false and misleading statements. In other words, they lied. We know that they lied about the reasons why they stopped Tyree. They said he was involved in a reckless driving incident. We know that was a lie. At least one of the officers recently, Hemphill, the one who tased him and said, I hope they stomp his ass because he couldn't catch him himself. It was said that he had falsified his report. Someone wrote a written report about this incident in its entirety. So whenever an officer is accused administratively of giving false and misleading statements, what that means is they can't be a police officer. They're decertified in a way. Much like a drug officer, a narcotics officer who's planting drugs on people, folks understand that. If you get caught planting drugs on people, everybody you've ever arrested for a dope charge gets thrown out. The district attorney now is mandated, unless people know to ask, but the DA is really mandated to look at every single case that the Scorpion unit or any officer on the Memphis Police Department, truth be told, arrested someone on. We know the Scorpion unit arrested 500 people. All 500 of those arrests and anybody who's sitting in jail right now might be eligible for a dismissal. The DA has to look at that. But if people in Memphis don't know to demand and ask for that, folks are going to be sitting in jail right now with a case that is ultimately going to be dismissed because you got an officer who's a known, proven liar.
Wow, there it is. Sergeant, I got to bring you back. Sergeant Dorsey, I got to bring you back. I want to pick your law enforcement brain, Sergeant Dorsey, because we need more sisters to speak out. We need more officers who understand the dynamics of all of this, of race and policing. We need your voice. So I got to bring you back. And so expect a call from us very, very soon as we continue the conversation. Thank you so much for your time. And more importantly, Sergeant Dorsey, thank you for being so good for the culture. Thank you. We needed this.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to switch gears. We're going to check in with Mr. Jay Wells to talk about some of the challenges of being Black in Hollywood. We'll have that conversation and a whole lot more. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. you get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause, too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture. We're moving from Washington, D.C. down to Hollywood, and we're time for us to check in with a SAG Award-winning martial artist, stunt performer, and actor, Mr. Jay Wells Jr. Jay, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. How are you, sir? Can you hear us?
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Big brother, I know you are on set right now, so we appreciate the time that you can give to us this afternoon. But most importantly, Jay, first and foremost, we want to congratulate you on all the success, brother, that you are making in Hollywood. How has this journey been for you?
It's been good, man. Been riding the wave, man. You know, you got your highs and your lows and whatnot, man, but it's all been worth it. Everything takes you to your destination. You got to appreciate the time that you're in.
Absolutely. Now, you are a stunt performer.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about this work and more and more importantly, talk to us about, you know, what it means to be a black stunt performer in modern day Hollywood.
It's good, man. It means a lot. I started off as an actor and a martial artist, and it was a long time before those two worlds converged, but they converged together on the first Black Panther film, and everything kind of clicked and made sense at that point, because that was like kind of the first time that a major Hollywood production needed a plethora of black male and female stunt performers. And at that moment, I felt like I found my tribe. And so I've been working in film and doing stunt work and fight choreography since that time.
Right. Now, this film, Black Panther, is just a small budget film that we all come to grow and love. Just a little small budget,
Paquito.
$1 billion film, $1 billion franchise. First and foremost, you know, when you look at Black Panther, it has become the new standard of what black filmmaking looks like. From Ryan Coogler, from the actors, from the crew. Of course, with the great legacy of Chadwick Boseman, to be a part of a production like that. Your team, actually, you and others that are part of the stunt team, y'all were all nominated for SAG Awards, right?
Yes. We were nominated. We were nominated for the first film, Black Panther. We were nominated and we won back in 2018. And no, that was 2019 when we won. And then we were nominated again. So we're up against some stiff competition. So hopefully we can pull it out. But there's a lot of great films that are up for that award.
Right. But when you look at the power of that film, this one film, of course, we know Angela Bassett is up for an Academy Award for her performance. Yep. This has changed happening. What aren't we seeing that this film is doing that you're seeing?
It's doing a lot, and you know, each film has a different tone to it. The first Black Panther really kind of set the bar kind of high, and the second one is good, and the tone is different because Chadwick is in there, God rest him. But it's good in its own right, and it's doing a lot for black men and women and stunt performers in the industry. And it's really kind of ushered in a new genre of film with Afrofuturism, with the action, the science, and the technology, and the fighting and everything like that. And so for me, it's just a blessing to be a part of this franchise, not only for the first film, but the second one as well.
Absolutely. And you're saying that it's doing a lot for Afrofuturism. Talk to me a little bit about that. Do you expect to see more films that takes us into that space, do you expect to see them to be, you know, supported and produced and by big budget studios?
I hope so. And so this kind of marks the turn where you kind of really see more diversity in terms of filmmaking and the types of stories that are being told. You look with the inclusion of not only Black people, Hispanic people, Spanish people, Asian people, all walks of life included in filmmaking and storytelling now. And so I hope to see more of that come in the near future with that. And so just, you know, with Black Panther in itself, not even people, the movie's so popular, people think Wakanda's a real place.
Facts,
and
bro.
I don't know if you heard, but now people over in the Congo, they found this new mineral, element 115, I think that's what's being referred to. But it's an electrically charged stone. You can attach a wire to it, attach that wire to a bulb, and it'll power it. Yes. Yes, and so people are saying that people are calling this real element like the real life vibranium. They just found it. Yes, yes, and so
hey Jay, I'm gonna check in with my culture crew to see if anybody else heard about that crew. Y'all gotta let me know because I never heard that one. That is news to me, brother.
This is Black Information Network. I'm putting y'all on game.
Yeah, bro. Hey, that's the exclusive stuff what we love to hear.
That's exclusive.
Well, okay, my team got it up. My team, 115, the newest element on the periodic table. The extremely heavy element was just confirmed by scientists in Sweden. Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that that Black Panther was actually on to something?
Yes. Yes. An extremely rare mineral that you can only find in the land, in the continent of Africa.
Wow. The conversation about Africa, bro. I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to travel to the continent yet, but
I did. I went to Ghana 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
Okay, awesome. Do you see this? And I know this might be a stretch, but you know, arts and culture has such a power that it does bring people from across the waters together. Is this a way for us to really, and I'm saying Black folks in this country, for us to have some very different conversation about Black America and Africa in the way that we probably didn't have 20 years ago?
It is. It really showed us in a positive light, much in the same way that Eddie Murphy tried to do the same thing with Coming to America many years ago. And so this is doing the same thing with really pushing the conversation forward about Africa and what it has to offer, and the regalness, the minerals there. And you really have to go to it. But because of Western lifestyle, when people think about traveling overseas, they think about going to different places like Europe, South America, Asia, and these different places, which is nothing wrong with those places. Those places are dope. But our people don't consider going over to their place of origin.
Yeah.
And they really should, because it's beautiful over there. They have everything over there that we have over here and then some. And it's really gorgeous. And just going to Ghana was just kind of life-changing for me, because you walk around and you see nothing but people that look like you. And there's an invisible heaviness that you get walking around here sometimes, because there is this thing called racism that exists. Over there, not as much. Everybody looks like you, so you just walk with a certain sense of freedom. And if somebody has a problem with you, they really have a problem with you. Race has nothing to do with it. It's just, you offended me in some kind of way, that's my issue, in which I really appreciate.
Hey Jay, I love how you just described that, brother. You said an invisible heaviness that we call racism. That is, I have never heard that terminology used for that. And that's dynamic. That's dope, bro. That is dope. And so you understand that you got a lot of Black folks don't get a chance to travel to the motherland, right? And to have those life-changing experiences, right? And I'm saying in mass. I'm talking about in mass. I'm being in mass,
yeah,
in mass.
But they will travel though, but they don't consider going over to the continent and seeing it, which is a shame. We see each other, but we don't see each other. We see everybody else's culture. We see Spain, we see Europe, we see the UK, we see Asia, but we don't see Africa. And we need to see Africa for ourselves, because it's beautiful over there and it's a different experience. And just the culture and everything. We're finding out a lot of the stuff that you see other places come from where we're from. We just don't know about it. We don't see that, but we should. Now, really want people to go over there and experience it for themselves. Ghana's a beautiful country. You got South Africa, you got Kenya, you got Uganda, you got Nigeria, you got Benin. You got all these different countries that you can go to over there. You know, people don't appreciate it. Yeah.
And look, we got a couple of moments left. I know you got to get back going too. I want to ask you, knowing that, having that experience, knowing what you know, because you have a sense of consciousness, there's an enlightenment that comes. I can see it all over your face, brother, that you are a heavy thinker. How are you able to navigate in all of Hollywood, considering the fact that Hollywood is still wrestling with race in this country?
Just the grace of God. You just got to do it. You know, I had a goal and a dream when I came here, and so he's been ordering my steps ever since then. And so my walk isn't any different than the people that came before me in doing this and making strides. In a lot of ways, they made it easier. And so, interestingly enough, because I'm a stunt man, they had this thing called paint downs where the stars back in yesteryear in the 60s, 70s, they would get white actors to double them. And one of the people that was instrumental in ending that process was Bill Cosby, because they wanted to get a white actor to double him. But he said, no, go hire this brother. And I believe the brother's name is Calvin. I think it's Calvin Brown. He's one of the first recognized stuntmen in the industry. And if it wasn't for Bill Cosby, we would probably still be dealing with that issue. But now that made way for me and many people that look like me to be able to work in film and do stunts and do what we enjoy.
There it is right there. Jay Wells Jr., first and foremost, brother, I thank you for your time with us this afternoon. And most importantly,
thank you.
Brother, hey, man, keep up the great work. And, you always got a place and home with us here on the Black Star Network on the Culture. And
appreciate
thank you for being so good for the culture, Jay. I truly appreciate you.
No, thank you. I appreciate y'all, man. Yo, each one reach one.
Absolutely. My brother. All right, Jake, enjoy your day, man. Go back to work, man. I don't want you getting no trouble.
All right, man. I'm out, man.
Talk to you soon, brother. Thank you.
Okay. Peace.
Folks, man, Jay Wells Jr., stuntman, martial artist, performer, giving us a little insight about his travels across the water to the motherland. Folks, I'm telling you, oh man, I want to let that one just marinate. Look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to check in with my man Devo. Stay with us. It's the Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Truly appreciate you for checking in. Man, I'm loving the conversations. We got some more conversations lined up for you for this next hour. But I wanted to check in and kind of do an update because this brother, who we had on the show some time ago, had talked about how he was going to take the culinary industry by storm by introducing and highlighting some of the country's finest Black chefs and I would say food technicians. And so now he is putting those Black chefs on display for his new network called the Food and Lifestyle TV. And they have officially made their announcement that they are launched. And I'm so happy to have my brother Devo Harrelson join us once again to talk to us about give us the details about their launch for Food and Lifestyle TV and so much more. Devo, thank you so much, brother, for checking back in. Good afternoon. How are you? Did we lose him? All right, we're going to bring my man Devo back in a few moments. And folks, I want you to join us here on to be a part of the conversation. Make sure you post your comments in our chat section, as well as we're streaming live on YouTube, of course, Facebook, and of course, if you haven't had a chance to go to blackstarnetwork.com. All right, I got my man Devo. He's back. Devo, thank you so much, brother. We got you.
That's right.
Hey, Devo, how you feeling, brother?
I feel fantastic. Glad to be back here with you guys.
Absolutely. First and foremost, Devo, congratulations on the launch of the network, Food and Lifestyle TV.
Thank you very much. I know last time we were here, we were building up toward it. One of the important principles we have is to do what we say we're going to do. Huh. In our community, we put a premium on that because of how people perceive us. So we really try to hit deadlines. We try to start on time. We try to do all those things. So we're very excited. January 1, we launched as we planned and anticipated, and it's just very exciting to see it become real.
This is very real because the last time you were on, Devo, you really gave us some insight into the inspiration for you to even start this space and this platform. You know, to giving new chefs, giving veteran chefs and culinary technicians an opportunity to showcase their skills and to essentially show Black America and all of America what we as Black folks can do in the kitchen, what we can do in the lifestyle space. Has that changed for you now that you are launched? Has any of that changed for you, or has that been, has any of that been added to as a result of this launch?
I have grabbed the flag and I am charging up the hilltop.
Are you going to be like, as the good Reverend Sharpton said, we mountain climbers?
That's it. That's it. Because here's the thing. It's a space that was needed.
Right.
So once you officially launch, the people we've been in conversations with, we've had projects with, you collaborate with, now it's go time. So just the last couple of weeks, there's a group here in town called Relly's Hospitality. Terrell has got a hospitality bar staffing business. So if you have a big event, a big function, he can bring you bartenders, he can do your whole bar. To help market that, he created this Mixologist of the Year campaign. And so they do these battles now in Nashville and Miami and Atlanta, a couple of cities. And the bartenders go at it. And so this week for the Mixologist of the Year, they had a whole week of activities. They also give out a DJ award and a chef award. And Terrell was like, look, you guys have a pretty good hold on the chefs in Atlanta. Why don't you do something? And so we did a chef roundtable. And we had 11 of Atlanta's top chefs here in the studio. We did 2 panel sessions. And we let them talk. We let them really share their grievances. We talked about entrepreneurship. We talked about the whole issue of, I'm not sure if you get this where you are, the hookah, the grass wall, and the lamb chops for brunch. And so there are people that are starting to complain about the state of culinary, and is everything too turnt? And so we had a mix of lounge chefs, fine dining chefs, private chefs, who all had a chance to address the issue. So it's, in one way, it's, social media content, people are talking about it. On the other hand, you have trends, so that if everybody's going to a lounge in a lit place, that means people are not going to fine dining. If you're an investor and you're opening a restaurant, what kind of establishment do you want? What are you building out? And what's being identified is that there's a real trend and change in how new generation is going to restaurants, and it's putting pressure on fine dining experience. So it was just that's the kind of thing that we're able to do now that we're launched, and everybody sees that we're serious. So we pulled together this collection of astronomical talents in one room.
So, and you know, we got a couple of moments left before we take our next pause, but I do want to kind of explore, you know, that a couple of things. One, what has been the feedback as a result of this launch, and now that you're putting these bigger issues on the table about Black folks in culinary spaces, you know, us Black folks serving other Black folks, right? All of these things are now being put on the forefront. How has folks that subscribe to you, folks that have supported you, folks that are just joining you, you know, people that will be joining you after this conversation, I want you to talk to us about, you know, what has been the feedback for that, because, you know, we got a lot of foodies. The one thing that I've learned in meeting new people, and Devo, you know, everybody will say, and I'm one of them, I'm a foodie. I love to go out to eat, man. I love to try new dishes. I love to go into different spaces, to enjoy a meal. I love to, you know, and, you know, I have no experience whatsoever in the food industry, right? But when I walk into a restaurant, I'm looking at the chandeliers. You know what I'm saying? I'm just so damn critical in some. So, I mean, but I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only Black person. It's an experience for us. It's not just buying food. You're literally investing in an experience. When you say go out to eat, that's a 2-3 hour situation.
Well, think about the expression, you got food at the house.
Right.
Now, we understand what that means. If it's just nourishment, you have food that you bought, that you like, presumably, at the house.
Right.
But right now, that's not what I'm really feeling right now.
Right.
I want the salt on the rim of my margarita. You know, I want the salsa maraschino cherry thing.
I mean, I
want to bring
me
me a whiskey with the smoke all over it. I want all of that, you know? So yeah, that's all part of the experience. And
that's all part of the experience. But I do want to get some feedback from you as to what has been the response that you've gotten, because as much as you're doing it on the fun side, this is also a very serious side, which is you're catering to Black people, right? There's a level of service. There's a level of commitment. I mean, there are some deep principles undergirding everything that you're doing, brother. And so I want to explore that a little bit more. And of course, bring some more of our comments from our online culture crew. So folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, when we come forward, we're going to have this conversation with Devo Harrelson. We're going to have a conversation with you. And of course, we're going to continue the discussion about food and culinary and of course, Black people. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
Folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking to J. DeVille Devo Harrelson, who serves as the founder and CEO of Food and Lifestyle TV, a brand new network in another space. Look at this, folks. This is the channel that highlights Black cooking, Black chefs, Black folk in the kitchen like never before. They have officially launched the TV space, and we are here on The Culture just to highlight the great work that they're doing, and of course to show our solidarity for the great work that they're doing, because, you know, I mean, we are Black Star Network. We got to stand and support one another. So I'm so happy to have my brother Devo joining me once again. He talked to us before the launch, and now that the network has launched, we are now talking to him about what should we expect from the Food and Lifestyle Network. Devo, again, thank you so much for your time, brother. And I'm very serious about this. This is so important to me as just a representative of Black Star Network, and more importantly, one who talks about the culture, that we give space and really respect and praise to other Black folks that are pushing the envelope, pushing the boundaries about what we do and how we have conversations. And I think that the work that you're doing, brother, the way you're presenting it, I mean, Keenan, let's just show that website one. This stuff looks fun. This ain't you know, this stuff looks so much fun. When you look at the videos and you see how these chefs interact, I'm sorry, it makes me think of my family when I see my mom used to how she was in the kitchen, or I see my aunts, or see my wife. I just see everybody in the kitchen. It looks like a lot of fun, brother. There's a lot of love that's in the air. There's a lot of love. And of course, you got a lot of good-looking people. So, you know, you don't mind good-looking people cooking. But what's that? I mean, what for you, how important was the aesthetics of how this thing would be presented? How important was that for you, Devo?
Well, this goes back to the mission that you guys have, the same mission we have, which is ownership of media, ownership of the narrative. There are people around the world, people in this country, who just don't know Black people. All they know are what might be perceived as negative images that are portrayed from platforms that we don't own. They don't see us in our ordinary day-to-day life activities the way that we just are in our natural state of being, which is why when we pop up places, they're surprised to see us, and they want to know, why are you here? Why are you bird watching? Why are you selling lemonade? Why are you collecting insects for your class project? Just to pull a few out of the news recently. They're not used to seeing us do different things. So what we do is just simply let our folks be who they are in their natural personality, their authentic selves. And when we cook, when we get a bunch of people together, we sip a little something, we laugh a little bit, we joke, we compete, we taste, we share recipes, we gatekeep spices, we do all of that.
You do all of
it. We just show all of that. And so, and the studio is big enough to be able to do what we need to do, but it's also small enough so that when they're cooking the onions and peppers and they're throwing in the different sprinkles of flavors, you can smell it in the studio. So it's a very intimate, immersive experience when you're actually here.
That's absolutely. And we're looking at some video right now, Devo, looking at some of this video, because your network will actually do, you know, not only are you just highlighting people cooking, there are competition shows, there are shows where you're talking to, you know, veteran chefs are talking to emerging chefs and food artists. I mean, there's a lot of different content for folks to kind of enjoy here. And I can't stop thinking about the food.
Well, one of the beautiful things that we get to showcase is that, for whatever reason, mainstream always pictures Black chefs as soul food chefs. And look, I eat on holidays. Anybody's grandma got a plate, I'm with it. But if you're a trained chef, just because you're melanated doesn't mean you can't cook other cuisines. Other ethnicities get to cook all types of cuisines. If you walk back in the kitchen, it doesn't matter what the restaurant is, there's all types of folks back there. So what we get to do is showcase chefs cooking the type of cuisine they want to cook. And because we foster a sense of community within our space here, they share notes and they share ideas and they share recipes and they share techniques and they grow from one another. They teach one another. Steel sharpens steel.
Oh,
Whether
absolutely.
Well, that's in a collaborative type of way, or we're very excited about Dragonfire Kitchen. That's our one-on-one, side-by-side competition show.
Right.
We put 2 chefs on either side of a four-top stove. We give them 45 minutes. There's some parameters about what it is that they're fixing, and we let them go. And
absolutely.
We've got judges, we've got people, and the timer's going, and you got to throw down. And it may be a soul food challenge, but it may not be. We've had
and Devo, that's
challenge.
And Devo, I love the fact that it's not just about soul food, because again, that's not like Black folks. We don't have to cater to just that cuisine. We don't have to just cater to that palate, right? Like, you know, we can. It's like you just see Black folks in, I don't know, Black models in urban fashion shows versus being in high, couture style fashion shows. You know, it's like there are so many different complexities to the Black food experience that it is, you can't confine it, or you can't define it to just, oh, y'all Black, so therefore you just know how to cook chicken. Yesterday we had a conversation, and I'm wondering from you, brothers, I'm listening to you, right? Yesterday we had a conversation about Aramark, the food vendor, and how they served chicken and waffles with watermelon on the side to a middle school in New York City on the first day of Black History Month. And I'm asking the question, Devo, I'm asking the question. Now look, they've had a pattern of doing these things, over these past few years. But the thing is, should we be offended by Black folks, by people of saying that Black folks in chicken or Black folks in watermelon, should they still carry some offensive sting to us, to our culture? Or should we be able to say, yeah, we love chicken. I love chicken. I love watermelon. Like, can we get past certain type of stigmas and stereotypes?
Yeah, I a couple of thoughts. Obviously, we can get past, we more than that, we do more than that. The first thing I think of is that apparently there's nobody Black in management at that company. I don't know if it was hostile. I don't know if that was an intentional disrespect menu, or if that was someone genuinely thinking, well, that's what they eat, so let's give it to them. I don't know. But obviously they don't have anybody in their chain of command that could have been like, yeah, no, don't do that.
Right. Not on the first day of Black.
That's not a good idea. Don't do that.
That's not. Make it the 11th day or something. Maybe hold the watermelon.
But that goes back to our whole mission of, Black-owned spaces, Black management, Black decision makers.
Right.
That would have some sensitivity to that. And it's not always hostile. Sometimes they just don't know us. And maybe they think they're being good to us. I don't know. That also was a little suspect. That could have been hostile. I don't know that situation.
Right.
But staying in the same vein of being pigeonholed, but we're more than what could be made out to be. We just did a collaboration with Black Restaurant Week, and I'm not sure if you've talked to these guys, but I would say that would be a great guest for you. So Warren Luckett has built an organization with some other folks, and they've got a Black Restaurant Week in 14, 15, 16 cities. And the idea is that they go and they promote Black-owned restaurants during a week. They have specials, and they get everybody to go out to dinner to these different places, and to really generate commerce and awareness for these restaurants. So it's one of our collaborations. He and I had conversations, and he thought that he liked what we were doing here in Atlanta. He thought we should be national. So he invited me out to participate with the program they had with NASCAR. NASCAR is trying to diversify its fan base. And Brandon Thompson is their VP of Diversity and Inclusion, and they put in a cars and coffee car show on Slauson Avenue, a traditional Black area, at Hilltop Coffee and Kitchen, which is the chain of coffee shops partially owned by Issa Rae, the upcoming mogul and actress. So you had Black car clubs in a Black neighborhood in front of a Black coffee shop working with NASCAR, and to try to shine light on the fact that there's a big car culture. Black people like cars too. Black people have fancy cars and do customized work and, hit the switches and all those things.
Oh yeah.
And shout out to NASCAR for first of all, hiring a solid dude to be in charge of their diversity inclusion program. And then for them to actually have a community-based, for real effort. You and I have seen many misguided diversity efforts.
I like how you put that, Devo.
I remember in my corporate days, being told to come to a photo shoot in the lobby. And you get down there, and there's my Cuban friend, and there's my Indian friend. And you're like, oh, and here comes the Asian person. Are we really doing this?
They'd be like, Devo, come on.
And then you're sort of like, now you have to make that choice. Do I make a thing about this?
Right.
Do I just smile and take the effing picture? Like, what? Now I'm in somebody's brochure, So shout out to NASCAR for having a solid brother handling this. He had a good team. They had a smart sister with him that was on point, putting the event together. Shout out to Warren. Shout out to Inglewood Tino, who was the on the ground guy that knew all the car culture. And it was just, and you could see the people were just happy to be there, because apparently in Cali they have these types of things all the time, but not in our parts of town. And so this was partly to help promote one of the big races that NASCAR had in LA. But again, it's a way for us to collaborate with other like-minded folks to help our community, and to help people understand that the only thing all Black people have in common is that we're all Black.
Right.
Otherwise, everybody's an individual. They do different things. They've got different interests, different likes, different things they want to do. And
Absolutely.
Corporate America in general is missing out by not understanding that simple fact.
And Devo, I want to take a quick pause on that point, because sure. it is how important is it for us to continue to try to court corporate America to see our culture, to invest in our value. At some point, do we just say, you know what, enough is enough, and then we start building our own thing without the support of corporate America? Because I know that's a tough bind for all of us, right? We're all building, we all want that level of support, but how far do we go in trying to appeal to potential investors? So I want to have that conversation. Okay. And Absolutely. Of course, just talking about everything on the platform, talking about what can we expect now that the Life Food and Lifestyle TV has officially launched. What can we expect? So folks, stay with us. We continue to talk to my man Devo, and of course to you. Stay with us. Post your comments in the chat. Let's continue the conversation about Black folks and food. It's right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been talking to my brother Devo Harrelson, who serves as the CEO and founder of Food and Lifestyle TV, a new TV space, folks, where you can see culinary chef, Black culinary technicians at their best. Folks, definitely check them out online. And of course, continue to support them, because this is a space for Black chefs, for up and coming food artists. I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity to see the brilliance and the excellence in the kitchen like never before. Food and lifestyle channel with the vibe. You can see here, dopest chefs, cooking battles, lit kitchen collabs, travel experiences, all vibes, and so much more. And we've been talking to our brother Devo as he's just sharing some of the inspiration, some of the thinking behind launching Food and Lifestyle TV, and more importantly, what we can expect moving forward as they have launched on January the 1st, kicking off the new year with Black excellence in the kitchen. Now, Devo, I wanted to kind of get your take on this, because you're talking about that level of partnership with some of the folks that you work with, like with NASCAR, who understands it, who's trying to, shift gears in terms of their appeal to a broader audience, Black audience, Black folks, Black men and Black women who have a love for cars and racing. But I wonder, you're at the top of this process, like rolling, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, how much do you keep trying to appeal to corporate America, to say to corporate America, hey, look, I'm a new food and lifestyle TV space and platform and network. We have dope Black chefs. We have culinary artists that you've probably never seen before, that won't be on the food channel, that won't be seen in any other space outside of where we are. How much do you keep going down that road versus saying, hey, you know what? Y'all don't have to take this ride with us. We gonna ride for our own. Like, I know that's always something to consider. Am I right in thinking that?
You're right in thinking that. And we made a decision that we're going to do what we do. And people want to rock with us, will rock with us. That being said, we've chosen a certain lane. So we focus on excellence. We are uplifting each other. We are looking for talented people. We're looking for people that are trying to grow and learn and teach. So we've got former corporate folks in our leadership, so that our pitch is, look, the creatives, the talent, you can be who you are. Management will help build the structures, make sure we do brand protection, so that we are comfortable to do business with without having to sacrifice our identity or our principles.
Mm-hmm.
One of the issues that sometimes we run into, and this may be a little controversial for this audience, but in my OG role, I want to do a little teaching. Sometimes the issue is prejudice, ignorance, hate. They're trying to block us out. That is very much prevalent and exists. Sometimes, however, we don't know industry standards. We don't know the proper vocabulary. We don't know the process and procedures. So we present in a way that the person talking to you doesn't feel comfortable that you understand their business their way. That's different than prejudice or gatekeeping. So what we try to do is, on the underpinnings of our business, to do things the right way. Like, for example, when we decided to announce our content to the world, we presented upfront. We found a space, Modex, Black-owned space, with a huge screen, and we had our talent come up and introduce their shows in front of the screen, the way that TV executives have been doing in the industry for 50 years, so that we appear to the advertising community as a TV network in the way that they are used to seeing TV networks present themselves. And so that's a big part of what we try to do. So I have no desire to mute our folks. If you watch any of our programming, you will see and enjoy and feel things you do not see in other platforms. If not, why have a platform that imitates what's already there? The purpose of having a new platform is to have new voices that needed to be heard. But that being said, there are trillions of dollars available in commerce in America. Why should we turn our back on the commerce? The key thing is to make sure we maintain our principles and our dignity, and we do things that at the end of the day I'm proud of. And if there are allies or corporations that want to be down with us, we can rock with them. And if they want us to do things that we're not comfortable with, I'm prepared to walk away from that.
Well, that's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear. We got a few moments left with you, dear brother. And again, I'm just so happy and proud that we are having this conversation with you. And, you know, as you are on the ground level of building the platform, what's been the response, Devo? What have people been saying to you?
It's been a little overwhelming, the amount of emotion that's coming back.
Wow. Wow. I can see it in your face, brother.
Well, you have grown people, grown men and grown women crying in your arms because you finally made their dream come true that other people didn't. You have cooking shows where the mommy and daddy ain't talked to each other in months or years, but they both here to see their baby do their cooking show. That's the human side of having a platform where you've been locked out, where you don't have your own voice. The other side is, you know, the number of show pitches is coming good and strong, and that's terrific because we're looking for collaborations. We are looking for people who want to create shows, but we also have a distribution platform. So if people have shows they've already created, hey, as long as the music isn't copywritten, we have a way to put it onto the platform. You know, it's a platform that we have decisions about greenlighting what goes on it, and so we get to curate content. So whether it's stuff that we actually create ourselves or as content that's submitted, you know, we're interested in all of that.
This is phenomenal. This is phenomenal. We got a couple of seconds left, brother. And again, I'm just so thankful. And, you know, you're always welcome here on the show. Always welcome here on the space, man, because, like, again, you know, it's about support. You know what I mean? We're Black media. You're doing the media. You're doing cooking. We do news and information and lifestyle programming. You're doing food and lifestyle programming. Look, we need to support one another.
Absolutely.
We need to figure out how this all can fit, because our people, there's so many Black folks in this country. And, you know, it breaks my heart when I hear so many Black people talking about, or people in the industry who talk about like we can't serve all these people. You got millions of Black folks in America, and you act like your one network or your one space or your one platform should be the only platform for Black America. Please.
we made that choice early on. Because your initial instinct, especially when you're starting small, is to fight off all the competitors. But it was like, no. In fact, we don't even restrict our talent at this point. We don't have NDAs. If our talent has opportunities with other networks, they can go do projects in other networks. There's no need to gatekeep or hold that back. We collaborate with other networks. We're all trying to grow, and that's good for our stars. Right now, streaming right now is Chef Kelly's Food is My Love Language, and where she takes, she's an ex-model, executive chef from 5-star hotels and restaurants, and she puts twists on traditional recipes. Dr. Culinary is a psychiatrist and a licensed sex therapist, and she's got a show. Major Flavor P is just super unique. She raps, she paints. She's an LGBTQ community member and big energy. And she has a cooking variety show. Chef Joe at Midnight Brunch. Chef Rob hosting Dragonfire Kitchen. I mean, you have all these superstars in the making. And it's just very exciting. And so they've got shows streaming or in post-production.
There it is right there. My man Devo checking in. Representing for Food and Lifestyle TV. Devo, how can folks log in? How can they support? Give us all those details, brother.
Okay, number one, foodandlifestyle.com. So the way this works is you buy your membership at foodandlifestyle.com. Once you have that, your credentials now, you can take them to all the various platforms. Fire Stick, Roku, Apple, Android, LG TV, and then you can access, and I think we've got like, your membership gives you 5 or 6 platforms that you can watch on one and then switch over to the other one. So that's the thing. In the meantime, follow us on social at Food Lifestyle TV, one word. And that's Twitter, TikTok, IG, you know, all the various main platforms, Facebook.
It is right there. There it is. Devo, proud of you, brother. I'm in full support.
And let me shout out to all my Divine Nine brothers and sisters. Blue Fire.
There you go. There you go, brother. Devo, I thank you so much for your time, brother. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your understanding. My sister Lana said this brother is getting deep. The psychological aspect of it too. Food is health. Food is life. Absolutely. So you understand that. You're living that. You're breathing that. You're bringing that to life. And so, yeah, bunch of hearts, love, fire emojis. So, this is exactly what the people need. This is what the community needs. So, Devo, I just want to thank you, brother, and thank you for being so good for the culture.
One last thing. If you find your way to Atlanta, or if you know that you're coming, let us know. We would love to invite you to the studio and let you enjoy some of this face to face, whether on camera or off camera, just so you can enjoy it and experience it.
Come on. Man, you're inviting me to a meal, brother?
I'm inviting you to have chefs cook for you. Can you imagine what it was like in here after the 10-chef panel? And I might have stocked the fridge because I knew they were all going to be here. How they all just started throwing down together. Fellowshipping with 10 chefs, people that cook for celebrities, people that own restaurants, people that cook for restaurants, all together as one.
Devo, I didn't know that our relationship was going to get this deep, brother.
Well, you keep speaking truth, my brother. You keep speaking truth.
You invite me to a meal. I appreciate that, and I'm going to take you up on that offer. Thank you so much, Devo. I truly appreciate you, man.
And thank you to your audience.
Let's reconnect very soon, brother. I know that you got a lot on your plate, but let's reconnect very soon to keep us updated about your progress. But thank you, dear brother.
Absolutely.
Seriously, thank you. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, got a very interesting story. We're going to be checking in with Dr. Verna Bird, and she has one heck of a personal story about racism and coming to truth with who she is. We're going to have that conversation up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
The 54th NAACP Image Awards is airing live on February 25th, honoring outstanding performances in film, television, theater, music, and literature. But this year, Roland Martin Unfiltered is nominated for Outstanding News or Information Series or Special. To vote, head to NAACPImageAwards.net, scroll down to Outstanding News/Information Series, select the category. You have to click on hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Votes Matter Election Night Coverage. To submit your vote, you will need an email. Only one vote allowed per email. Voting ends on February 10th at 9 p.m. Vote today.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. For our final conversation, we're going to talk to a woman who has a very interesting personal story, a story of coming to truth about who she is, and also a story about the lessons that we can learn about race in America. I want to introduce to you Dr. Verda Bird. She is, Dr. Bird is in her 70s, and here's a woman that has a very, very compelling personal story. Dr. Bird, thank you so much for joining us here on The Culture, here on the Black Star Network. How are you, ma'am?
Pretty good. How are you today?
I am good, Dr. Bird. I am good. I didn't want to let people know too much about your story, so I want you to share with us why it's important for, why we're having you on this story, because your personal story is very, very interesting. And more importantly, Dr. Bird, how we can have conversation about race in this country. First and foremost, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm Dr. Verda Bird. I live in San Antonio, Texas. And I grew up in Kansas, but am born in Kansas City, Missouri, in the early 40s. And I was adopted. I was born by biological white parents and adopted by Black parents, a Black couple in Newton, Kansas. And I grew up in Newton, Kansas. And at the age of 70, I got my original documents and I was white again.
At the age of 70, after 7 decades, you found out that you were biologically white.
Yes, sir. All the adoption documents came. Missouri was a closed adoption state, and it was a segregated state. But when your parents, my birth parents knew financially, they could not give me a good life. And my biological mom and daddy signed my adoption documents, which was the best thing they could have ever done.
Wow. Wow. So, okay, so your biological parents could not care for you.
Right.
Your adoptive parents said, okay, fine, we will take you in. We will raise you. We will provide a home for you.
We will love you.
We will love you.
Yes.
You were born in the Black community, Black tradition, Black household, all of that, Black culture.
I was raised Black.
I mean, and you were raised Black.
Yes, yes, yes.
Did you have, and I'm assuming that along with that is the black church experience?
Oh yes, our Black Baptist Church gets us going, and praises go up, blessings come down, don't they? Yes.
And you had all of this, and then you leave home, you start checking out. Now, when you're like filling out papers, you are a doctor, so when you're filling out papers for legal documents, you put your birth, you put your race as being black.
Yes, that's all I knew. When you're placed in a children's home, that's what they called them. They didn't call them foster care. They called them children's home back in the early 40s. When you're placed in a children's home for a year or so, and you're only 3 or 4 years old, if that old, you don't know whether you're black or purple or green or yellow. But your adopted parents adopted you, and they loved you and guided you, and your whole world was black.
Wow.
What else would you know?
Right. You don't know anything else. You don't know anything else. So what was that experience like? How did you find out that you were actually white?
When the state of Missouri, about 6 or 7 years ago, opened up the adoption documents, they were all adoption documents were closed until about 7 years ago, because not most of the states had closed adoptions. But adoptees, we need to know who our roots. If our families had health issues, if our mama had cancer, if our daddy was, not a good, we need to know family history. So for health reasons. So when the state of Missouri opened up their adoption rules and regulations, I sent for my original birth certificate, and 3 months later I got my original birth certificate and all my adoption documents. And my birth mama was white, my birth daddy was white, my sisters and siblings and me and everybody was white. So
what went through your mind, Dr. Bird, when you saw that?
At first, I thought, are they talking about the same person? Do they? Because my birth name was different than Verda. So I had two birth certificates, 2 names. I thought, oh my gosh, this has got to be crazy. This has got to be a mistake. But it didn't change. And I confirmed everything with DNAs. So I'm just continued my happy black life.
So do you still, when people ask, and I mean physically, I wouldn't have been able to tell you, say, hell no, oh Dr. you are white. But if you're asked, what do you say when people ask you where you from, or which community you are part of?
Well, it doesn't really matter to me if you're black or white or orange. Right. Because I was a military wife and living overseas in Germany, in Tokyo, Japan. They don't ask what nationality you are. They ask what country you come from. So, and then my world has been black. But if you want me to be white, if my papers say I'm white, well, I'm only white on Monday and Tuesday. Those are my white days.
Your white days.
That is the first 48 hours of every week. That's all I can give my whiteness, because the rest of the week, that's over 70 years of blackness came in. I'm black the rest of the week. So I can be whatever you want me to be. I have 2 birth certificates.
Wow. So talk to us about your family. Like once your family found out, who was the first person you told in your family that
my husband. We've been married 44 years. and he's retired Air Force.
He's a black man.
Yes, he is. Yes, my world was black. What? Yes.
So did he like? I mean, I'm sure he was just stunned.
Yeah, he was. We were on the Bishop TV Jake show in New York, and the bishop was interviewing me on stage, and he asked the same thing about my husband. My husband was sitting right in front of me, and he asked the same thing. What'd your husband say? And I told the bishop, I said, you know, my husband went to bed with a black woman and woke up with the white woman. So I don't know but he's been with me every step of the way.
Oh, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
That is a blessing, Dr. Bird. So you know what? Look, let me do this. Let me take a quick pause. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation because I'm really interested to hear, you know, what do your thoughts about how we have a conversation about race in this country, especially when you have a situation like yours. So, folks, stay with us. More with Dr. Verda Bird, and of course with you right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, we have been talking to Dr. Verda Bird, who is a woman in her 70s who just found out after 7 decades that her adoptive parents were black, that she was born white. She did not know that was the case until she turned 70 years old. So for 7 decades, she was living as a black woman in mind, body, and spirit. And now she was told that she's turned white, that she's actually white. And guess what? She has not stopped living as a black woman. Now, this story may sound familiar as we understand the case of Rachel Dolezal. This is the former NAACP leader who is a white woman who changed her appearance and her culture to fit black folks. And so I want to get a take from Dr. Bird about the case of Rachel Dolezal. Dr. Bird, again, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. What do you make of that? Because you didn't make this choice on your own. This was you were adopted as a baby, essentially.
Yes. Rachel Dolezal is a human just like we all are.
Right.
And we all make mistakes. And, if she wanted to be something that she wasn't, well, that was on her.
Right.
But I didn't personally like the way she was, what she was trying to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're a beautiful black woman, be black. If you're a beautiful white woman, be white. I don't care. But you've got to tell the truth and be honest with really who you are. So, I haven't changed my personality. I haven't changed my behavior. I still go to black churches. I still eat soul food. I still, being a military wife, I still enjoy the nicer and finer things of life, because it doesn't matter who you are, it's what you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how do we, and I mean, Rachel is one of those anomalies, you know what I mean, Dr. Bird, where, you do have people who want to change their skin tone, their physical looks. They want to change the culture that they're part of. But how do we have a very mature and understanding conversation about race in this country? Because I'm sure that there are other folks like you who were born in one place, and I mean who came from one place and then raised in another way. So how do we have conversations about this, right?
I think, I'm considered a transracial adoptee.
Really? Okay. That's the terminology.
Not a biracial, but transracial. So we have to learn to understand the words that we use. Biracial, like in my case, I was taken out as a white baby. I was taken out of my white culture and put in a black culture. You're taken out of one race and put in another race. Totally different. So, and biracial means your mama or your daddy might be of different races. So we have to understand, first of all, we have to understand the words that we use, and how to make other people understand why and how we're using them. I had a forever loving home by black parents, and we have to understand the word love to begin with. We have to understand the word unity to begin with. We have to understand what we are talking about and how to explain to others so we don't have misunderstandings.
And Dr. Bird, I have to say that your experience opens up the discussion around, are you born a racist or are you raised a racist, right? Right. And I think that, and of course, to your point, like you grew up in a loving black home, as as we all know now, as a little white girl. So it just goes to show you that racism is something that is put inside of a person, not necessarily something that already exists in a person, right?
You're not born a racist. Usually people are taught how, I don't like you because you live on the other side of town. I don't like that boy because he lives on the other side of the tracks. We're taught. We're not born racist. We're taught colorism.
And so if we are taught colorism, then it should be pretty easy to undo or to get to the root of this problem of race in this country. It's everywhere, Doc. You know it and I know it, right? And even just the term transracial, I've never heard that term before. So that's eye-opening for me. But it should be something that we should get to the root of, but it doesn't seem like it's quite that simple.
Sometimes I had to accept what these papers were telling me, what I was reading. So how we accept things, how we understand, how we are taught, how we live is how we build our worlds around us. So if you live in Germany, well, then you speak German. In America, we speak English. Now, they don't understand English and we don't understand German. So what culture are you in? You got to understand your culture.
Yeah. And your culture is the space that you're raised in.
Yes.
Not the skin that you come in.
Right. I have a documentary that's streaming on Tubi TV. And it's called 70 Years of Blackness, just like my book. My book came, I put it out, and everybody wanted to know more about me. So Olivia worked with my film director, and my documentary film came out. So, and now I have a scholarship project going to promote young adults coming out of foster care. So it's how we're taught, it's how we learn, it's what we do and how we do it.
That is absolutely powerful. You got a book, you got a documentary, and you are on the scene sharing your insight based upon your personal experience. Dr. Verda Bird biopic right there, folks. And this is on your website. Hey, Dr. Bird, my online culture crew, they say, no, you belong to us.
Okay. That's okay. I can do that because, you know, I grew up in the AME church, but that what do you call it? African Methodist Episcopal.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we have our black churches too. So I've been raised black. You know,
sister, you black.
I'm black. You know,
black.
I'm a proud black woman even at that.
Wow.
So
wow.
It's not who we are, it's what we are.
I'm gonna stop the conversation. I gotta stop the conversation right there, Dr. Bird. Okay. Because I want people to marinate on your story and just some of the lessons that you've gained from this experience. Folks, this is Dr. Verda Bird. Keenan, let's just throw this website up very quickly and let folks see that the great work that Dr. Bird is in having conversations about race. She's considered to be transracial, folks. She has her biopic, 70 Years of Blackness. She is an adoptee, and she's now founder of 70 Years of Blackness, a project. It's a fantastic, a very powerful and compelling story. And Dr. Bird, you know, you always got a place for with us here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Look at you. Look at you, all queen. Look at that. That's a proud black woman right there, Dr. Bird.
Yes, I am. I'm a lady. You know, in the blacks, we have the Masonic men, we have the Shriners, and my husband is all part of that, and I am the Lady Shriner and a Lady Mason. So I've been black. I'm black, and I'm proud of it. And so what the words say on my adoption documents, what the words say, N for Negro, W for white, you know, yes. I had to accept that mentally, but I didn't have to change my life. I didn't have to change anything because I've had a good life. Why do I need to go backwards?
There it is. Dr. Bird, I thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you so much for having the conversation with me. And I offer the best of health for you and for your family. And congratulations on the long marriage, everything. But if you want to ever come back on, Dr. Bird, you're always welcome back on the Black Star Network.
Thank you. Where are you? I'm one of those anyway. Where are you located?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I'm in LA.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, can you send me your contact info?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I could definitely do that.
And I have a website, Dr. Verda Bird at drverdabird.com.
There it is. We got you. We got you, Doc.
You know, so.
Well, Doc, I appreciate you. Dr. Bird, thank you so much for your time, and we will definitely talk offline and reconnect. But thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Bye-bye. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. What a great story, right? Very, very empowering. Willie, thank you so much for checking in. Willie, my man Willie Frazier said, bro, great way to end the show. Absolutely. Thought y'all would love that one. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank my dynamic team, King Keenan, Ariel, Joel, and my control room. Thank you. Make sure you continue to do your due diligence. Support us here at Black Star Network. Go to blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app. Also, so if you want to provide some type of financial support, you can. You can share the content and follow us on all social media platforms at Black Star Network, as well as follow me at The Real Farajii, and I'm on The Real Farajii on IG and Farajii on Twitter, and I would love to connect with you. Stay tuned. Up next is RMU, Roland Martin Unfiltered. And as always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.